federal structure of Kyiv to eventually bring down the Ukrainian government, and then that way Putin would have been able to achieve his goal, which is to take over all of Ukraine.
I just don't think he thought that Zelensky was going to be as strong as he is. He just thought, oh, comedian.
Yeah.
Whack him off.
Yeah.
He's a joke.
Yeah. And also there's just that there's natural gas
Yeah.
in Donetsk, and that's what they're fighting over.
Could you break that down for me again, please? I find your stories to be brilliant, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Which part?
Basically, what's happening, how you explained.
Well, okay, so Crimea was taken over, but when Russia annexed Crimea, they annexed all the problems too, including the free health care, pension plans, the free education, all that stuff, including the fact that Crimea doesn't have enough fresh water for its own people. There are canals that come across through here, and of course, eventually Ukraine cut off those canals, as well as originally electrical power.
So the Black Sea and these other various large bodies of water, or salt water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they can't. That's not drinking water here. But the fresh water was coming in through here. So this more recent war, they took over Kherson so that they could turn on the water supply back to Crimea.
The Russians took over so they could.
Yeah. Now there's fresh water coming into Crimea, but they're not paying the Ukrainian government for that fresh water.
So could you explain that again? So basically, the Russians are taking over parts of the Ukraine, but they're inheriting the problems.
They took over that part, but because they annexed Crimea, they annexed all the headaches that come with it, and and Putin also at comparable time tried to make these people's revolutions in other cities, but they were shut down pretty quickly. In Donetsk and Luhansk, they saw to it that those people's revolutions, which are basically a euphemism for Putin's thugs, they were successful there, and they were not interested in being annexed by Russia, because the ultimate goal, and this is 2014 we're talking about, the ultimate goal was to take apart the central government and weaken the central government in Kyiv.
So who's defending the Ukraine from Russia? Would they be called nationalists?
Patriots, the Ukrainian army.
Nationalists? Nationalistic?
Patriots, the Ukrainian army is defending.
They're patriotic for their nation.
Sure, they're patriots.
So they're nationalistic, and they don't want open borders, do they?
I believe there's a difference between the word nationalist and patriot.
Well, they don't want open borders, do they?
Not right now, of course not.
I'm just trying to clarify. You know, one invasion from another. I know that's discriminating, but.
Well, no, I mean the last thing that really pissed off Putin was to require. I think that the Ukrainian government started requiring visas for Russian people.
So Russia's a bully state.
Absolutely.
So
what else can you say?
But before he formally invaded with his armies, Russians were just basically moving into the Ukraine, right?
I don't know about that. I have no idea if that's. How would you measure that?
Well, it's just from the other side of the story that I'm hearing is that there's a lot of ethnic Russians in the Ukraine being exterminated by Zelensky. Some 14,000 of them disappeared.
No, I never heard of that.
Never heard of it?
Besides, I mean, how would you count an ethnic Russian versus, how testing ethnicity by what measure? How does one differentiate that you're ethnic Russian and you're not? How is that?
So Ukraine's a sovereign nation, and they don't want their borders being violated.
Yeah, they were.
And they're being defended by the nationalistic.
No, I didn't say nationalistic.
Well, a nation, anybody who's patriotic is somebody who's for their nation. It's kind of one and the same.
If you use that definition, it's
like, is the Ukraine a nation?
Army. I mean, the Ukrainian army. Is
the Ukraine a nation? Is it a nation state?
It was, but see, Putin doesn't want to give them that respect.
Well, we're not getting any respect here as a nation state.
Well, depends. Yeah, depends who you talk to. Yeah.
I'm coming from a place where we're busy screeching in the streets. We're busy screaming in the streets. No borders, no nations. Fuck deportations. How can I, as a person who has no concept of a border, suddenly have a concept of a border in some place I've never been to or seen? I'm just trying to be, I'm a confused person. So I'm being told that I'm a bad guy because, well, I'm nationalistic and patriotic. And now there's another group of people who are nationalistic and patriotic. And I'm being told that I'm supposed to have some empathy for these people whose borders are being violated. I mean, wouldn't you call what Putin is supposedly doing a violation of a border?
When you say supposedly, does that mean you disbelieve?
Well, the thing is like I said, I'm from San Diego. We're literally kept in a bubble here.
Okay, but do you believe that there's a war going on?
I have no idea.
You really don't believe that?
I have no idea. Belief is something that is believing in anything is something that's very hard for somebody like me. What's a border? No borders, no nations. Fuck deportations. So how am I to believe in one person's border when I have none of my own? I'm not even supposed to know what that means.
Wow.
And what's the difference between a Russian and a Ukrainian? How am I to know that when I'm not supposed to see any difference between anybody here, whether they're from
You could look at their passport.
Whether they're from here or Timbuktu? How am I? I'm not. You're talking to a person that's led to believe that there's no color, there's no race, there's no border, no nation. We're just supposed to be global, homogenous people, citizens of the globe, and yet suddenly Putin's a bad guy because he's violating all these things that I'm not supposed to believe in. You see the confusion?
Well, he's violating the border with tanks and missiles.
Well, that's one form of violation. I mean, but our borders are being violated.
Well,
In a far more insidious way. At least Putin's being honest. At least he's coming in with a uniform saying, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing, where he saw these other people are coming as pretenders. These invaders are coming here as a pretender. I'd rather get a bomb than somebody coming here and dropping their baby in my lap. So how is this any different?
yeah. Well, if that's how you...
Well, they're just legitimate questions. You're talking to a person who's not supposed to believe in any kind of ethnicity or race or border or nationality, and then suddenly I'm supposed to see one.
Well, you look at their passport. What does the passport say? Everybody has...
Well, a lot of these people coming over here don't have anything. They're undocumented. So even questioning them having a passport is some form of... I'm literally like being accused of Hitler because I want people to have a passport.
Did the guys that arrived on the Mayflower, did they have a passport?
As a matter of fact, they did.
They did?
They faced the arrows and the slings of the natives here. Do you have any idea what my ancestors went through?
Really?
Yeah.
And they had passports, and the natives wouldn't accept them.
As far as a passport, in what way?
Well, that's what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, we were brought here, many of us against our will.
Are you familiar with these cottages?
No.
You know that America's a penal colony, right?
We are...
It certainly hasn't changed much, has it?
Weekends, all of our cottages are open.
Why would you go from one war to another? Are you from the Ukraine?
No, I'm not.
Where are you from, sir?
Southern California.
A bubble, huh? A bubble of ignorance.
I beg your pardon?
It's a bubble of ignorance.
I am?
No, this is Lilliputian land. So in San Diego, this is what's called a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state, meaning that come one, come all. And yet the Ukrainians are being held up at the border. So if there's any credence to their story, then why aren't they given immediate status like all these other idiots from around the world?
Why don't you go down there and talk to them?
No, why not?
Ways of doing that, which is We recommend donating money, of course, in Switzerland, you would have other Chinese that these organizations, we have that as being valid and we do a lot of good work.